Diver in distress!
It's the worst case scenario for any diver, yet many continue to insist that it could never happen to them. Unfortunately, even the most careful, well-equipped and experienced divers can find themselves in trouble.
Been diving over 30 years. I've done well over 4,000 dives. I've dived recreationally, I've dived commercially in the offshore oil fields. And all this time I've never had the slightest symptom of decompression sickness, not even a joint pain or a skin rash or an itch. Anyway, I started making my ascent and I actually managed to complete all my decompression. I didn't miss any stops at all. So the fact this came on like this and everything, as far as I'm concerned, the dive went absolutely perfectly and everyone's looked at the profile afterwards and have agreed there's absolutely nothing wrong there at all. It just comes out the blue and hits you. It's very hard to accept it.
When divers go underwater, they carry air cylinders. It consists of 21% oxygen and 79% nitrogen. When divers breathe from their tanks at the surface, they're breathing air at the same pressure as the atmosphere. As they go underwater, the air goes into their lungs at a greater pressure and becomes more concentrated. The dissolved oxygen is rapidly used up by their cells, but if the diver comes back up to the surface too quickly, any dissolved nitrogen can form a bubble. Any trapped bubbles in the body's tissues can cause serious damage. The administration of oxygen may encourage these bubbles to dissolve back into the blood and leave the lungs normally, as well as benefiting any damaged tissue. The long-term outcome of each case is very dependent on getting expert treatment in the shortest possible time, an area where the DDRC excels.
The hyperbaric chamber is really a very simple concept, really. It's a chamber a bit like a large boiler. It's a big metal casing. And when you go inside it, once the doors are shut, then air is blown into the chamber, increasing the pressure in the chamber. What that does is, by increasing the pressure, you crush the bubbles and hopefully therefore remove any blockages caused by those bubbles in a diving environment.
Often the casualty will have been rushed by the emergency services to the DDRC as time is critical. The team are always on standby.
I was very worried to start with because I really didn't think I could walk again. And I was so disorientated and feeling so ill that really I was just hoping that somebody could fix me quickly.
Did they live up to that?
They did. They were extremely good. And one thing I would always be grateful for is I kept my wife fully informed. I mean, obviously I'd known mates who've had bends and things, but I never realised a bend could be so bad. And having a facility so close was excellent.
There is no typical case. Symptoms can occur immediately after a dive, several hours later, or even longer if the diver flies too soon after enjoying the delights of a tropical reef while on holiday.
Diving illnesses tend to come on in a perceived way as the emergencies. The helicopters, the lifeboat rescues, the fast rigid hull inflatable transits to your nearest chamber across the water to the port and so on, all very exciting. And although it could be said that a significant number of cases are like that, there are also a minority of cases, but very important cases, that come on insidiously, i.e. slowly. The ones that maybe take longer to develop come to us more slowly. They can be harder to treat.
To add to the difficulties, research at the DDRC is suggesting that some divers may go into a state of denial rather than accepting that they have decompression illness.
I do a lot of diving and dive with a lot of different people, and I see people who've got, fairly obviously have got symptoms, and they think, I'll go home, have a hot shower and it'll go away, or perhaps take a couple of aspirins, or perhaps breathe a bit of oxygen on the boat, whereas really what they should be doing is thinking, this isn't right, this is symptoms of decompression sickness. They should ring the relevant people, i.e. DDRC, and get advice.
The expertise at the DDRC has now been vital in the recovery of more than 1,000 divers.
Well, I did an excellent dive, and it was through no fault of my own that I had a bend. So a bend can happen to anybody at any time, And without the DDRC, I feel like there's a strong possibility I wouldn't be walking today.